Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. Here's my top 10 personal favorite movies of the entire decade so far. Yes, okay, I got a recommendation to do this top 10 list. Yes, someone asked me to do my top 10 favorite movies of the decade. Yes, movies from 2010 to now of 2016, and this is hands down probably one of the most hardest top 10s I ever had to do. So, thank you for the recommendation because I put so much effort into this top 10 list. I'm like, oh my god, how am I supposed to pick my top 10 favorite movies of the decade so far? I know it's only 2016, the decade's not even over yet, but there's been so many amazing movies, and I don't even know how to choose my favorites. It's so hard. I put a few ties in this top 10 list because I had to cheat because there's so many amazing movies, but I think this list is pretty accurate. I think I agree with this list. Hopefully I don't disagree with this list like 5 years from now when more movies come out, but as of now, as of 2016, here's my top 10 personal favorite movies of the decade. Okay, let's get to it. And before our top 10 list, you gotta have your honorable mentions. And I have a lot of honorable mentions, so yeah, here's my honorable mentions for my favorite movies of the decade so far. Yes, those honorable mentions are When Marnie Was There, Liberal Arts, Paranorman, Creed, The Artist, Captain America, The Winter Soldier, Prisoners, The King's Speech, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. All amazing movies, some of the greatest movies that came out in the past 6-7 years. Amazing. Just give me the top 10 list. But what did make my top 10 was my number 10. My number 10 are two of my favorite animated movies that have came out this decade, and that is Toy Story 3 and Wolf Children. Yes, very different movies, but two very amazing movies. Toy Story 3 is the ending of the Toy Story trilogy, and it ends with a bang. This movie came out in 2010, and 2010 was an amazing year for movies, and Toy Story 3 was just phenomenal, so good, so hard-hitting, emotional, just, it made me weep. Not only the dumpster scene when they're all about to get obliterated, but that ending scene when Andy has to get rid of the toys, just tears, but all the characters that we all know and love are back. Woody, Buzz, Jessie, Bullseye, all of them are so good. The jokes are great, the animation's great. It's a much darker movie than the previous two, and it's just so good. It may not be my favorite Toy Story movie. I always love the first one, but Toy Story 3 is just amazing. Amazing. And you know what else is amazing? Wolf Children. Yes, Wolf Children is probably a movie not a lot of people have heard of, but check it out. It's so good. It's one of the best Japanese animated movies of all time. My favorite is Spirited Away, but Spirited Away didn't come out in this decade, so yeah, out of this decade, Wolf Children is one of my favorite it's probably the best Japanese animated movie that's come out this decade. When Marnie Was There is getting close now, but Wolf Children is so good. Mamoru Hosoda is a phenomenal director, one of the best Japanese directors out there. He's not quite there with Miyazaki, but he's amazing. I love Summer Wars, I love The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, but Wolf Children is a masterpiece. It's so good. The animation is breathtaking, and the story is so hard-hitting. The characters are so likable, it's so realistic, and it just hits you. Right when the movie opens, it's just beautiful to look at, and you're immediately attached to these characters, and it's amazing. Toy Story 3 and Wolf Children are the best animated movies of this decade, and they're my 10th favorite movies of this decade. Coming number 9 is Hugo. Yes, Hugo, Martin Scorsese's Hugo is one of my favorite Scorsese movies. It gets better and better. The more times I watched it, this came out, what, 2011? Yeah, 2011. I know people think I like The Artist more than Hugo. It's not true. I love The Artist. I love that movie. People need to stop hating on that movie, but Hugo is the better movie. I would have rather it win Best Picture, but I'm glad The Artist won Best Picture, but beside the point, Hugo is a great movie. It's a great movie for kids. Yes, it's a Scorsese movie that children could actually watch, and it's so good. Cinematography is amazing. The sound mixing and editing is fantastic. It's so true to the source material. They got great child actors like Asa Butterfield and Chloe Grace Moretz in it, and they're both so good. I love how it ties into the film industry, and it's a lot about filmmaking and the love of cinema, but it's also about an orphan, and, you know, he just wants a family. He misses his father. It's so well done. It's got some great comedy. It's got some really compelling drama, beautiful visuals, and just amazing shots, and just an amazing story. Hugo is one of the best Scorsese movies. It's not the best. It's no Raging Bull or Goodfellas, but it's up there. It's phenomenal, and one of my favorite movies of this decade. I love Hugo. Coming number 8 is The Avengers. Yes, I know, a big blockbuster superhero movie, but this movie did something no superhero movie ever did. It brought in all these superheroes from previous films and put them all together as a team. It's amazing. Like, I don't know what else to say that a million people haven't said already about The Avengers. It's a fun popcorn action movie, and I love it. It's probably one of the funnest movies I've ever watched this entire decade, and I love it. I'm a big superhero fan, so I had to have The Avengers on it. I love The Avengers. Coming number 7 is Django Unchained. Yes, Django! I love Django, one of the best Tarantino movies. Not the best, again, this decade. It's the best Tarantino movie of this decade, and I love Django Unchained. I've seen this movie about 13, 14 times since this came out, since 2012. It's so good. It was probably like my favorite movie of 2012, and the performances in this movie are all so solid. Jamie Foxx is great. Christoph Waltz is great. Samuel Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio steal every scene they're in. The action is great. The dramatic scenes are great. The comedy is great. It's a great homage to spaghetti westerns, and I can feel there was a lot of love and passion in this movie, and despite how controversial this movie was, I freaking loved it. I loved it. It's one of Quentin Tarantino's best written movies. It's probably one of the best westerns, and it's one of my favorite movies of the decade. I love Django. Django! Coming number 6 is Her. Yes, Her is directed by Spike Jonze, written by Spike Jonze, and it stars Scarlett Johansson as a voice, and Joaquin Phoenix as this character named Theodore, who's a very complex, strange, but very likable lead character, and I love this movie. Yes, it's about a guy falling in love with an operating system. He's basically falling in love with his computer, and yes, that's a strange idea, and it is not straight up original. It's an original film, but this idea has been done before in TV shows like The Big Bang Theory and stuff. Like, this idea has been done before, but bringing this idea to the big screen and just making a full-length feature about it, it's very interesting, and they did it so freaking well. You actually enjoy this couple. It's a guy and a robot. It's a guy and an operating system, but you buy their connection. You buy this romance, and it's just so beautiful. The writing for this movie is beautiful. The dialogue is so good, and I love these characters. I love Samantha, and I love Theodore, and I love them as a couple. They're like one of my favorite couples in movies. It's just so good. The performances are great. Joaquin Phoenix brings his A game. Scarlett Johansson is just a voice, but she is just so compelling. You just love her. She's just such a compelling voice, and you understand why Theodore is in love with this voice. Because honestly, when you're watching the movie, you're falling in love with this voice because it's just such a friggin' charming and likable voice. And I was rooting for it for Best Picture at the Oscars. It didn't win, but I love this movie. I love its idea. I love its writing. I love its characters. I just love her. It's one of my favorites. Coming number 5 is Whiplash. I love this movie. Damien Chazelle, who wrote and directed this movie, did a fantastic job. Again, the performances in this movie are just so well done. Miles Teller, he's always a hit and miss with me. He does amazing movies like The Spectacular Now, then he does shitty movies like That Awkward Moment and Fan Four Stick, but this is his best movie. His performance is freaking amazing. J.K. Simmons as Fletcher steals every scene. I love his one-liners. Like, he's so funny. Like, you give a retard a calculator, try to turn the television on with it. You motherfucker, don't look down. There's no fucking Mars bar down there. I love this guy. Like, J.K. Simmons deserved his Oscar, and he was so good in this movie. It's a very psychological movie. Like, the way Fletcher teaches these students is just fucked right up. He is like the drill sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. He is fucked up and awesome, though. Just every line he says is just amazing. And this movie, if you love like music, if you're a big fan of music in the music industry, especially like jazz music, you know, orchestra kind of music, you'll love this movie. This movie is all about chasing your dreams and about passion for music, and it's so well done. The writing is fantastic. The editing is amazing. And these two performances are amazing performances. Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons kill it, and they're amazing. And this movie was one of my favorite movies of 2014. It's one of my favorite movies of this decade. I love it. Coming number 4 is a tie between two astronaut movies, and that's Gravity and The Martian. Yes, Gravity came out in 2013. It's amazing. I love it. Some people don't like it. Some people just think it's just this visual movie, and that's all it is. No, it's a lot more than that. There's a lot of great symbolism in this movie, but yeah, I love it. I love George Clooney. I love Sandra Bullock. I love the visual effects. I love the cinematography. I thought Alfonso Cuarón directed the film beautifully, and it's amazing. The Martian, is amazing too. Like, it was my second favorite movie of 2015. It's so good. Matt Damon's amazing. Drew Goddard's screenplay is amazing. Ridley Scott's direction's amazing. It's one of the best Ridley Scott movies that have come out in a long time. It's amazing. Both are amazing. Two great astronaut movies. If you love astronaut movies, you'll love those ones. Coming number 3 is Star Wars: The Force Awakens. No kidding, right? I love Star Wars: Force Awakens. I've gone on and on about this. I did a 10-minute review, did my top 10 favorite Force Awakens characters. I've gone on and on. You all know how much I love Star Wars. Star Wars: Force Awakens brought all the characters back, did a fantastic job. Lawrence Kasdan did a phenomenal job. John Williams' score was fantastic. J.J. Abrams' direction was amazing. The new characters, Rey, Finn, Kylo Ren, Poe, are all amazing. The practicality looked great. The action was great. The characters were great. The writing was great. I loved everything about this movie. Were there minor flaws? Sure, but I still fucking love this movie. The performances, the direction, the writing, everything about this movie was amazing. It brought me back to Star Wars, made me feel like a kid again, watching Star Wars again, and it was amazing. Can't wait for episode 8, and Force Awakens is my third favorite movie of this decade so far. Coming number 2 is Boyhood. Yes, Richard Linklater's Boyhood. This is one of my favorite Richard Linklater movies, and I love the Before trilogy as a whole. The Before trilogy, I think, is a little better than Boyhood. But since only one Before trilogy movie came out in this decade, I'm not going to include the Before trilogy because it doesn't count. But Boyhood came out in 2014, and I still stand by it. It is the best movie of 2014. Some people call it boring, some people call it overrated, some people call it pretentious. Sure, if you want to think that, fine. I relate so much to this movie. Everything that this boy went through in his life, I went through it personally. Like, a lot of shit he went through, I went through personally, and I had a lot of connection to these characters and this story, and it just really hit me. Like, it really did. It was so well directed. They filmed this entire movie, what was it, 12 years or something? And it literally took 12 years. All these kids grew up, all these adults grew up, and it was so well done. Richard Linklater did a fantastic job. Do I think he should have got Best Director that year at the Oscars? Yes, I do, but Birdman's still amazing. But I love this movie. I thought all the kids were great. I thought Ethan Hawke and Patricia Arquette stole the movie, and I just had so much relatability to this story. And this movie just means so much to me, and that's why it's my second favorite movie of this decade, because it really hit me, and it really hit close to home, and the realism and the relatability just made me love this movie, and I love it. Boyhood, amazing. And my number 1 favorite movie of this decade is Inception. Yes. Boom. Boom. Yes, Christopher Nolan's Inception. Probably one of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies, right there with The Dark Knight. I love this movie. This has a stellar cast. Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Ellen Page, Michael Caine, Cillian Murphy. It goes on and on. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, did I just say that? Tom Hardy. Anyways, Christopher Nolan wrote and directed this movie. He did a phenomenal job. The cinematography is amazing. The visuals are amazing. This story isn't completely original, but it's so good and complex and smart and amazing. It's just so good. I love Inception. It's so good. It's one of my favorite movies of this decade. It's so good. A lot of people say it's too smart. Some people say it's not at all smart, but whatever. I love everything about this movie. I love how it's directed. I love how it's written. I love how everything is executed. The ending is so freaking brilliant. One of my favorite movie endings. Some people say it's stupid. It's so good, so clever, if you really understand it. I love this movie. I know some people are calling Inception overrated now, but honestly, it's not. It's so good. Inception is amazing, and it's my favorite movie of this decade. So yeah, that was my top 10 personal favorite movies of this decade. Yes, 2010 to 2016. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this list? And if not, give me your top 10 favorites. What are your favorite movies of this decade? Give me your top 10s, comment below, and let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.